The microphone hummed, a low, expectant sound that filled the sterile silence of the city council chambers. All eyes were on me, Captain John Sullivan, a 30-year veteran of the fire department, standing at the public podium in my dress uniform. Across the room, Councilman Richard Thorne gave me a small, condescending smile. He thought I was there to beg for scraps, to plead for funding he'd already denied. He had no idea that the thick binder in my hands wasn't a request. It was his political tombstone. If you have ever been told that your safety, your well-being, is less important than someone else's profit, if you've ever had to fight a corrupt system from the inside, armed with nothing but the truth, then you are one of us. Welcome to Hearts in Uniform. This is the place where we believe that a public servant's first duty is to the public, not to their own pockets. Show your support for every first responder who puts their life on the line by hitting that like button and subscribe for more stories of corruption brought to heel. Now, let me tell you how a faulty air mask and a forgotten fire code from 1982 allowed me to burn a politician's career to the ground. My name is John, but everyone at Station 12 just calls me Sully. My firehouse isn't just a job, it's my family. For 3 decades, I've run into burning buildings alongside the bravest men and women I've ever known. My crew, my family, includes grizzled veterans like my engineer, Mac, and bright-eyed rookies like our newest probie, a kid named Leo Martinez. We called him Kid. He was barely 20, full of courage and a desire to serve. It was my job to keep him safe, a job I was beginning to fail at thanks to our city's budget. Our gear was old, our engine had seen better days, and our breathing apparatuses, the single most important piece of life-saving equipment we have, were nearing the end of their service life. For 6 months, I had been petitioning the city council for the funds to replace them. And for 6 months, I had been stonewalled by one man, Councilman Richard Thorne. Thorne was a master of public relations. He loved posing for photos at the station during Fire Prevention Week, calling us the city's finest. But behind closed doors, he was a snake. He treated the city budget like his own private piggy bank, and our requests were always at the bottom of his list. The betrayal came at a televised city council meeting. I presented my case, complete with data on equipment failure rates and the risk to my crew. Thorne listened with a look of deep, theatrical concern on his face. Then he took the floor. "Captain Sullivan," he said, his voice dripping with fake sympathy, "we all appreciate the incredible work you do, but in these difficult fiscal times, we simply cannot approve a multi-million-dollar expenditure." 10 minutes later, in the very same meeting, he championed and pushed through a last-minute zoning variance for a new luxury condo project downtown, The Pinnacle, being built by a shady developer named Apex Development, a project that just happened to be in his district. He had the money, he just didn't have it for us. 2 weeks later, the call came in. A 3-alarm warehouse fire down by the docks, a nasty one. Thick, acrid smoke poured into the night sky. We went in. Kid Martinez was with me, pulling hose, fighting the beast. We were making progress when I heard a sound that will haunt me for the rest of my life. The panicked, muffled gasp of a man who can't breathe. Kid's air mask had failed. The seal had malfunctioned. He was inhaling pure poison. I grabbed him, dragged him out of that inferno, and ripped my own mask off to give him air. He survived. Barely. He was in the ICU for a week with severe lung damage. His career as a firefighter was over before it had truly begun. Standing by his hospital bed, looking at his family, including his young wife Maria, I wasn't just sad. I was a cold, quiet engine of rage. This wasn't an accident. This was a consequence. a consequence of Richard Thorne's greed. That night, I made a vow. I wasn't going to fight him in his arena of politics and speeches. I was going to fight him in mine, the world of codes, regulations, and life or death details. I started digging. I pulled every public record I could find on Thorne, Apex Development, and the Pinnacle Condo project. It was a tangled web of shell corporations. But my real breakthrough came from a conversation with a retired fire marshal, a grumpy old legend named Hemlock. I told him the story. He just grunted. "Don't look at the money, Sully," he said. "Look at the blueprints. A crook that cheap with the city's money is just as cheap with his own building." He was right. I spent the next month of my off-duty hours in the city planning office, poring over the blueprints and fire safety plans for the Pinnacle. And there it was. A tiny detail, but it was everything. To save money, the builders were using a cheaper, less effective fire sprinkler system, one that was only rated for residential buildings under 10 stories. The Pinnacle was slated to be 12. It was a direct, dangerous, and illegal violation of the city's fire code, a code I knew by heart. But that wasn't the smoking gun. The real crime was how it got approved. The safety plan had been signed off on, not by the current fire marshal, but by a private fire safety consultant. I ran the name of the consultant's firm. It was another shell corporation. And when I cross-referenced its incorporation documents, I found the name of its sole director, Richard Thorne. He was literally taking money from a developer to approve his own building's faulty, life-threatening safety plan. Now I had him. I compiled everything into a thick, 3-ring binder. The blueprints, the fire codes, cited by section and statute, the Shell Corporation documents showing the clear conflict of interest. I made copies for every member of the city council and one for the local investigative reporter, Susan Vance, whom I invited to the meeting. Which brings us back to the podium. Thorne was smiling, ready to dismiss me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make accusations. I simply stated facts. "Councilman Thorne," I began, "I am here tonight as a citizen concerned about public safety, specifically regarding the new Pinnacle condo development in your district." I proceeded to walk the council through the fire code violations, the illegal sprinkler system, the danger it posed to future residents, and to the firefighters who would have to run into that death trap. Thorne started to bluster, calling me a disgruntled employee. "This is slander," he boomed. "Is it?" I asked calmly. I then distributed my binder, because according to these public records, the private fire safety consultant who approved this dangerous plan is a company called Municipal Safety Solutions. And according to these other public records, you are its only listed officer. So my question to the council is this: is it standard procedure for a councilman to take money to approve his own illegal and unsafe building plans? The room exploded. The reporter, Susan Vance, was already on her phone, her eyes wide. Thorne's face went from red to white to a pasty gray. He was finished. The council, in a panic, immediately froze the Pinnacle project. A state-level investigation was launched. Thorne was indicted on charges of corruption, bribery, and public endangerment. And the first thing the acting city manager did? They unfroze the emergency funds. Station 12 got its new equipment. It was too late for Kid Martinez to be a firefighter. But the money from the city's lawsuit against Thorne will ensure he and his family are taken care of for life. Sometimes, to save your family, you have to be willing to burn down a corrupt man's kingdom. And there's no one better at controlled burns than a fire captain. Have you ever had to fight a corrupt system to protect your community? Share your story in the comments. And if you believe that true leaders protect their people, not their pockets, hit like and subscribe to Hearts in Uniform. We've got your back.